Well, I think the main difference is the negotiating stance, really. As Michel Barnier said, Theresa May never put "we'll walk away" on the table. The moment that Johnson has said, "Okay, look, if you don't get a deal, we're going to walk away," then that takes some of the power in the negotiating stance off the European Union, and they had all the power up till then.
So we're back to that. No deal is better than a bad deal. It will hurt us more than it hurts you, but we're prepared to do it anyway.
Well,
how is that different from Theresa May?
Well, if you go into a shop and say I want to buy something,
yes,
and I'm not going to walk away. I'm going to get it anyway.
Yes. What are we buying? What's the thing?
Well, we're buying a cooperative trade.
No, but agreement. In the analogy, what are we buying in the shop?
Oh, well, basically, if you want to buy, I don't know, a shirt or something.
Okay,
right?
and before we go into the shop, we've burnt all our old shirts, right? So we go in not even wearing a shirt.
No. That's. I'm not sure that's quite true. I don't think we burnt all our own shirts.
Okay, so which shirt is your analogy there? So which shirts do we keep in the event of no deal?
Okay, right. So we've got. We've got.
So we've got 120 free trade agreements at the moment. So let's call them shirts. In the event of no deal, as we go into the European Union trying to buy a new shirt while not actually wearing anything, which of those 120 agreements do we keep in the event of a no deal?
Yeah. Okay.
You need to answer the question for my listeners.
No, I understand that, but I do.
You still haven't answered it. You do have to answer it first. How many do we keep?
Okay. What you've done is that you've basically practiced abducto ad absurdum, which basically means
I've taken your analogy.
Yeah, you've taken yes.
You still haven't told my listeners how many shirts they're going to have at home.
Okay, well we've got the shirts from all our historical contacts with both the Commonwealth, with both
No, not in the context of negotiated.
You've asked me for an answer, and I'm giving it.
Good. So how many of the current trade agreements in place do we retain in the event of a no-deal Brexit? You said you're going to give me an answer.
Okay. Right. At the moment, probably none.
Pardon?
At the moment, probably none.
Why do you say probably?
Okay. Right. Now, can I...
So you're in the shirt shop, having set fire to every shirt, having set fire to every shirt you've ever bought. James, you're standing in the shirt shop bareback, I believe is the phrase.
No, James.
And this is a good negotiating tactic. Carry on.
Okay. No. You said I answer your question, then I can say what I wanted to say.
And now you can. So we've got no trade
deals. I've answered
deals.
your question, and I said probably none.
Yes.
So what I'd like to now say is what I wanted to say before.
Good.
Okay. Now, the problem you've just done is that you've taken an analogy, right, and you've not twisted it, but you've extended it to the point of absurdity.
But it was your analogy.
No, yes, it's my analogy.
So we're in your shop.
As analogies and metaphors, as you very well know, are only up to a certain point.
Yes.
Once you extend them past that point, then of course it becomes absurd.
Well, good. I'm glad we both agree that your analogy is absurd. So back to the negotiating position.
No. Your extension of my analogy is absurd.
Okay.
My analogy, as far as
so I shouldn't have asked you any questions about it, and then it would have sounded clever.
No, because I've given you an analogy, and I'm trying to explain to you what I mean.
Yes.
You've then taken it and stretched it into absurdity.
I apologise for making your analogy sound absurd.
No, your extension was absurd. My analogy wasn't.
Okay, so we're back to the shop.
If I could just say what I wanted to say. Now,
please.
Okay, so in any negotiating stance, if you're not prepared to walk away, you give power to the other party. Okay?
No, not okay.
By not agreeing,
not okay. For the reason that's just become clear, and which by your own admission is absurd.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. I'm sorry, could you...
Yes, of course I can. It's only a powerful negotiating position if you walk back to everything you had before you started negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a powerful negotiating position if, by abandoning negotiations, you end up with considerably less than you had before, which is why, actually, my extension of your analogy was not absurd. It's the analogy that's absurd.
No, because now...
Take your time.
We can walk back to the World Trade. We can walk back to the WTO and the GATT agreements. Okay.
No, we can't. No, we can't do that, except with the European Union's permission. Well, do you really need me to tell you this after 3 years?
Well, yeah.
Okay, well then I will. Okay, no, because that's fair. I do this for a living. You don't. The reason that we can't do that is because Article 24 of GATT is a interim position that's put in place between two parties that have already agreed a trade agreement.
Article 24. I didn't mention Article 24.
Oh, so which article of GATT are you talking about?
The basic stuff.
Well, go on. What's the basic stuff?
Where any country can trade with any other country using the WTO basic rules, which means we put tariffs on things, which I totally understand. Now, that gives us two things. It gives us one, okay, it gives us, and I've got to admit, I'm a slight protectionist, right? It gives us the ability to although prices will rise initially, it does give us the ability to actually bring industry back into the country.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does, because, I mean, for example, Nestle...
So why does no country on the planet currently trade on these terms?
Cadbury's are no longer manufacturing in the UK.
Why does no country on the planet currently trade on the terms you describe as desirable?
No, because it's a starting point, okay? Because from that starting point, we can then...
Yes, and this is the point about your analogy, is that we already have...
We can build a relationship with the European Union,
right? Based
upon that as a starting point. I'm not saying it's the end
point.
But
based upon what? I don't understand. You're talking about what the former Director General of the World Trade Organization has described as moving from the first division to the third division. You're describing it as a good idea.
No, I'm not describing it as a good idea. I'm describing it as a starting point.
Right,
okay,
but a starting point that is only necessitated by surrendering all the stuff that we've spent 30 years assembling and negotiating and building.
Yes.
So why is that why is that preferable to what we currently have?
Right, now, also...
Take your time.
The IMF has also said that the European Union over the last 10 years has had very low growth, and they've had a period of high unemployment, and that's due to last for another 10 years.
Okay, listen, I'm 4 minutes late for the news, Darren, and I'd like to thank you, actually, for demonstrating a lot more articulately than I could that absolutely nothing has changed, and the same slogans and the same hollow sound bites and the same misunderstandings are at the very heart of what Boris Johnson has now successfully sold to the country. I had no idea how late it was. I hope you take that as a compliment.